By the time my wife called me financially abusive, 6 people were watching me decide whether to defend myself. My father stood at the head of the conference table. 2 company partners sat beside him. Vanessa's mother had joined by video. Our attorney had stopped taking notes. Claire remained near the door with both hands wrapped around a dark blue phone. Vanessa's face filled the wall screen from an apartment I did not recognize. Daniel controls every account, she said. If I disagree with him, he threatens my business. My father turned toward me. Tell me she's lying. I opened my mouth. The familiar apology came first. I'm sorry this reached the company. Claire dropped the phone. It struck the floor hard enough to split the case from one corner. Everyone looked at her. Vanessa stopped speaking. Claire bent to retrieve it, but the screen had already awakened. Daniel Mercer credit limit increase approved. One of the partners read my name aloud. Vanessa recovered quickly. He has accounts I don't even know about. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Claire's thumb tightened over the broken case. I had never seen the phone before. I had also never applied for that credit line. Give it to me, I said. Vanessa leaned closer to her camera. Claire, don't. The room changed with those 2 words. Not because Vanessa sounded frightened, because she sounded like an owner warning someone away from her property. Claire placed the phone in front of me. Unlock it with your birthday. My father told me to wait for counsel. Vanessa said touching it would prove I had been monitoring her. Marcus, our attorney, warned that anything on the device could become evidence. Every safe choice required me to leave the phone untouched. Every person at the table was waiting to see which version of me I would confirm. I entered my birthday. The phone opened to a folder labeled D.M. Vanessa whispered, Claire. Claire did not look at her sister. What I should have done 11 days ago. My father crossed the distance between us and reached for the phone. I moved it away before he could touch it. His hand remained above the table. Daniel. He used the same tone he had used when I was 16 and had dented his truck. It meant that whatever had happened, my first duty was to make it smaller. Marcus said it could be evidence, I replied. Then stop opening things. Vanessa gave a careful breath through the speakers. This is exactly how he operates. He takes control, and then everyone acts as if his control is competence. My father's hand dropped. Vanessa knew my worst fear was becoming my father. Whenever I questioned an overdue bill or a missing transfer, she called my concern control. I would soften my voice and apologize for asking. The original question rarely survived. Daniel, Marcus said, set the device down. I placed it on the table without closing the folder. Inside were banking apps, tax forms, a scanned copy of my driver's license, and 17 images marked signatures. One showed my name at the bottom of a loan guarantee. It looked like mine. Vanessa, I said, what is this? Her expression settled into something almost gentle. I don't know what Claire put on that phone. It came from your storage unit, Claire said. Vanessa's mother shifted on the smaller video window. Claire, stay out of your sister's marriage. I tried. Claire's voice was quiet, but her hand had stopped shaking. That's why we're here. Arthur Bell, my father's longest-serving partner, wrote down the lender's name. They called us last month, he said. We were told it was phishing. I remembered Vanessa laughing about how convincing scammers had become. I had blocked the number. On the screen, Vanessa looked toward something beyond her camera. This meeting was supposed to be about my safety, she said. Now Daniel is using stolen property to put me on trial. Nobody knew the phone existed until Claire dropped it, Elaine replied. Conveniently, the word landed where Vanessa intended. Claire and I had arrived within minutes of each other. She was my wife's sister. She was holding a hidden phone with my identity inside it. Any explanation could be arranged to look like collusion. Marcus closed his notebook. No one sends messages, deletes files, or contacts the lender until I have arranged independent counsel for Mercer construction and preservation of the device. Independent counsel? My father repeated. I represent Daniel. The company's interests may no longer be identical to his. That frightened him more than Vanessa's accusation. My own phone vibrated beside my elbow. 9 messages waited. The first came from my mother. Please don't make this uglier. The second was from our largest client. The third came from Vanessa. You see what happens when you push me? My thumb hovered above the keyboard. The response formed without effort. I'm sorry. Let's talk privately. 7 words that could calm her or become another screenshot. Claire reached toward me. then stopped before touching my arm. Don't answer while you're trying to make everyone comfortable. I turned the screen face down. Vanessa saw the movement through the camera. Who are you hiding messages from now? I almost explained. Instead, I asked Marcus to photograph the phone where it lay and document everyone present. He nodded once. My father stared at me as if calm disobedience were more dangerous than anger. Claire stepped away from the door while Marcus worked. Rain darkened her coat. She looked like someone who had delayed doing the right thing until the wrong thing had grown teeth. Why 11 days? I asked. Her eyes moved to Vanessa's image. Not here. You brought it here. Because after her email, waiting became another lie. Vanessa laughed once. There was no humor in it. Daniel, she has always resented me. You know that! The sisters had gone months without speaking, and Claire owed Vanessa money for their mother's medical bills. Neither fact made her easy to trust. Marcus lifted the damaged case with gloved hands. A white inventory sticker clung to the inside, exposed where the corner had split. There was an address printed beneath a barcode. Not Vanessa's studio, not her mother's house. A private mailbox less than a mile from Claire's apartment. Claire closed her eyes. My father noticed. You knew about this. Part of it, she said. Vanessa spoke before anyone could ask which part. She received some business mail from me. That isn't a crime. Marcus looked up from the phone. No one said the sticker was connected to mail. Vanessa's face went still, only for a second. Then she smiled with practiced sadness. What else would a mailbox be connected to? Marcus did not answer. He opened the banking notification long enough to record the lender, account number, and amount. Then he set the device inside an evidence sleeve from his case. $180,000. Borrower: Daniel Mercer. Guarantor: Mercer Construction Holdings. It had been approved while I was away negotiating a hospital renovation contract. Across the table, my father lowered himself into a chair. Can this reach the company? Marcus sealed the sleeve. It already has. Vanessa's attorney disconnected her before we could ask another question. The partners left to freeze access to the company accounts. My father walked out without looking at me. Claire and I remained beside the empty conference table. The dark blue phone rested between us, inside clear plastic. She used your name for everything, Claire said. This time, it was not an impossible accusation. It was the beginning of an inventory. Tell me what you helped her do. Claire pulled out the chair opposite mine but did not sit. If I tell you here, you'll think the phone is the worst part, isn't it? She shook her head. The worst part is how long she was preparing everyone to believe it was you. Marcus took the dark blue phone with him. He left me a yellow legal pad, the number of a criminal defense attorney, and one instruction. Do not go home until we know who can access the accounts. By 9 that night, the office had emptied. The conference room lights were off, but Vanessa's face still seemed burned into the black wall screen. Claire waited beside the elevators. You said you would tell me what you helped her do. I will. When? When your lawyer isn't downstairs making an evidence log? The elevator doors opened. Neither of us stepped inside. You brought the evidence to my company and admitted waiting 11 days. Privacy stopped being an option. Privacy isn't what I'm protecting. Then what are you protecting? Her gaze settled on the loosened knot of my tie. You. For the next hour. I gave a short laugh. You don't get to decide what I can handle. No. But I can see what you're doing. What am I doing? Standing in the same building where your father just walked away from you, pretending the next useful question will keep you from feeling it. The elevator closed between us and our reflections. I pressed the call button again. Claire did not apologize. Vanessa could turn an apology into a tool. Claire made honesty harsher than necessary, then refused to decorate it. I need my laptop, I said. Marcus told you to leave the accounts alone. I need to check the hospital contract. At 9:15, our client messaged me. Your client asked if the company was at risk. That isn't the same as asking you to fix it tonight. The doors returned. This time I entered. Claire followed. In the mirrored elevator, I noticed a red mark across my palm. I had been pressing my thumbnail into it hard enough to break the skin. I closed my hand. Claire noticed that too. She reached into her bag, found a folded paper napkin, and offered it without comment. I wrapped it around my palm. You always carry restaurant napkins? Only the expensive ones. It was the first joke either of us had made. Neither smiled. Downstairs, Rain moved across the glass doors in silver sheets. My car waited in the underground garage, but the keys were at home in the bowl beside Vanessa's. I had arrived with my father. The detail embarrassed me more than it should have. At 38, I could not enter my house or drive away without asking for help. Claire raised her keys. I can take you somewhere. I'll call a car. To where? I opened the app anyway. Home was still saved as the default destination. For 8 years, our house had trained me to treat peace as the absence of the next difficult conversation. I learned not to ask about money before work, after work, during meals, or after her mother called. There was always a kinder time to ask. The kinder time never arrived. 3 months earlier, $40,000 disappeared from our joint savings. Vanessa said she had moved it temporarily to protect the studio payroll. When I asked to see the transfer, she stared at me across the kitchen island. Do you hear yourself? I did. I heard my father checking grocery receipts and asking my mother why she needed cash. So, I told Vanessa I trusted her. 2 days later, she bought me a new watch. I had thanked her for it. The watch was still on my wrist. I removed it and placed it in my coat pocket. Daniel, Claire stood by the lobby doors, watching me. Your place, I said. 1 hour. Then, you tell me everything. Her apartment occupied the floor above a furniture restoration shop. The stairwell smelled of sawdust and orange oil. Inside, nothing matched. A row of empty repaired frames rested against the wall. A dismantled coffee maker covered the kitchen counter. Claire locked the door, then placed the keys where I could see them. Coffee? No. She filled the machine anyway but set only water in front of me. Nothing there required me to remember which version of myself belonged in which room. My phone vibrated. My mother again. Your father says you refused to cooperate. Please call Vanessa before lawyers make this permanent. Beneath it, waited a message from Vanessa. I never wanted this to become public. Tell them Claire manipulated you and we can still handle it privately. The offer arrived before the threat had finished taking shape. My fingers moved over the screen. Claire sat across the small table, turning one of the coffee maker's screws between her fingertips. What are you writing? That I'm willing to talk if counsel is present? Is that what you want to say? It's the reasonable answer. I didn't ask if it was reasonable. I erased the sentence. Then I typed, I'm sorry this happened. The words looked harmless. They had kept entire years from becoming worse. She'll use that as an admission, Claire said. Maybe she just wants a way back. Back to what? I set the phone down too hard. Water jumped against the side of the glass. You don't know my marriage. No, I know my sister. You knew enough to help her. Claire placed the screw on the table. Yes. No defense. No careful explanation. The lack of resistance left nowhere for my anger to go. Then stop telling me how to speak to her. Okay. She rose and carried her untouched coffee to the sink. My message remained unfinished. In our first year of marriage, Vanessa lost a major client. I transferred money before she asked. She called me the safest person she knew. Years later, when I questioned a tax notice, she said safety had become surveillance. I had spent months trying to identify the exact moment I changed. The phone on the table held another possibility. Maybe the story had changed because she needed it to. Claire returned with a small adhesive bandage. She placed it beside my wounded palm rather than applying it herself. You don't have to trust me, she said. Good, but don't apologize tonight. You said you would stop telling me what to say. I'm telling you what not to say. This time, a tired smile reached one corner of her mouth. I covered the cut and locked my phone. 1 hour, I reminded her. Claire glanced toward the repaired frames along the wall. Vanessa started sending mail here 7 months ago. At first, it was only envelopes from a company called Northline. The lender? I didn't know that then. What did she tell you? That she was setting up a surprise investment for both of you? The explanation was weak enough that Claire could not meet my eyes while repeating it. And you believed her? I wanted to. Before she could continue, my phone lit up. It should not have. The screen showed the Mercer Construction Security Portal and a request to approve a new administrator. Vanessa's email address appeared beneath it. Claire moved around the table but stopped an arm's length away. Can she do that without you? I read the request twice. Not unless someone gave her my credentials. The approval timer counted down from 4 minutes. My old instinct told me to call Vanessa before rejecting it. Give her a chance to explain. Keep the problem inside the marriage. Instead, I took a screenshot and forwarded it to Marcus. Then I pressed Dinny. The approval request disappeared from my screen. 3 seconds later, Marcus called, "Did you deny it?" "I did." "Good. Now turn off Wi-Fi and do not touch the company portal again." Claire unplugged her router before he finished the sentence. Marcus heard the click. "Where are you?" I gave him the address. He paused. "At Claire Bennett's apartment?" She was about to explain the North Line mail. She can explain it tomorrow with counsel present. Claire leaned close enough to the phone to be heard. "Vanessa may still have access to Daniel's credentials, which is why neither of you should improvise an investigation tonight." Marcus arranged for a digital forensics firm to collect my laptop and secure the company accounts. Before ending the call, he told me not to contact Vanessa, Northline, or anyone whose name appeared on the hidden phone. "And Daniel?" "Yes? Do not confuse learning the truth with proving it. Tonight, those are different jobs." The line went dead. Claire plugged the router back in only after my phone was in airplane mode. "He likes you," she said. That was him being friendly? For a lawyer? Practically a hug? She returned to the dismantled coffee maker and fitted the tiny screw into place. Her hands needed a task even if the machine did not. "Northline," I said. Claire opened a drawer beneath the counter and removed a thick envelope secured with a rubber band. "These came here over 7 months. There were 11 pieces of mail. 8 remained sealed. 3 had been opened and taped shut. My name appeared on every envelope. The address beneath it belonged to Claire." "Why did you open these?" "Vanessa did." "Here?" "Sometimes." She explained that Vanessa had begun stopping by on Tuesday mornings, usually before Claire opened the restoration shop. She collected the mail, drank half a cup of coffee, and left. Claire had accepted her explanation about a surprise investment because their relationship had been improving. Improving how? Claire pressed both palms against the counter. She started helping with Mom's physical therapy bills. The answer did not excuse anything. It did explain why doubt had been expensive. I photographed the unopened envelopes without moving their order. The postmarks formed a timeline: Northline Capital, a business registration service, an online bank, then a law office in Delaware. The earliest envelope had arrived 3 weeks before $40,000 vanished from our savings. "Did you ever ask why an investment for both of us needed to be hidden from me?" "Once." "What did she say?" "That you ruined surprises by turning them into spreadsheets." It sounded enough like Vanessa that I could hear her saying it. Claire picked at the edge of the rubber band. I laughed. That hurt more than it should have. Not because the joke was cruel, because I could picture the scene. My wife making my caution sound ridiculous, her sister rewarding the story with a laugh, and my name waiting unopened between them. I slid the bundle away. "Send Marcus the dates." "Nothing else." Claire nodded. At 10:40, the forensic technician arrived. Priya Shah wore a navy raincoat and carried 2 hard cases. She documented my phone, copied the administrator request, and changed the credentials connected to my company access. Then she placed a laptop on Claire's table. "Marcus authorized a read-only image of the device," she said. "I can show you files relevant to immediate account security. I cannot let you browse freely." The hidden phone appeared on her screen as a list of folders. Den. Legal. Intinio. If he finds out. Priya opened a spreadsheet created 8 months earlier. It listed my social security number, driver's license details, former addresses, security answers, and 3 versions of my signature. Beside each item was a status column. Verified. Accepted. Needs cleaner scan. Claire stepped away from the table. I stayed seated because my knees had begun to feel unreliable. "Can you tell who created it?" I asked. "The file metadata names Vanessa Mercer." "That can be altered, so treat it as a lead, not a conclusion." The next folder contained incorporation documents for Bellwether Design Logistics LLC. I had never heard of the company. I was listed as its managing member. Vanessa was nowhere on the form. Priya opened a photograph of the signature page. The wood beneath the document was pale maple, with a dark burn mark near one corner. I knew that table. It stood in Vanessa's studio conference room. Claire recognized it too. She told me the burn came from a candle. Priya enlarged the date. The document had been signed while I was in Denver. Another file showed an electronic signature audit. The verification code had been sent to an email address built from my name. It was not mine. The recovery number ended in the same 4 digits as the dark blue phone. "That connects the device to the signature," Priya said. "It does not yet establish who held the device." Every answer opened a smaller, Sharper question. Who had created the email? Who had uploaded my license? Who had answered security questions only Vanessa should have known? Priya moved to a folder of audio files. The file names were dates. I recognized the first before she played it. My own voice filled Claire's kitchen. I'm sorry. You're right. I shouldn't have pushed. Then silence. The recording ended after 7 seconds. I remembered the conversation. Vanessa had transferred $12,000 without telling me. I had asked twice where it went. She cried and said my tone made her feel trapped. What the clip did not include was the sentence before my apology. If you won't believe me, Daniel, maybe you shouldn't be married to me. Priya opened another. I know. I'm sorry. It won't happen again. That one came from the night Vanessa locked herself in the bathroom after I asked about a tax penalty. I had promised not to raise financial questions before bed. The clip made it sound as if I had promised not to frighten her again. There were 26 recordings. Some lasted less than 10 seconds. Priya displayed the audio waveforms. Each file began abruptly and ended before the surrounding conversation could return. These were exported from longer recordings, she said. Can you recover the originals? Maybe, if they existed on this device. Claire stood beside the sink with one hand over her mouth. She played one for Mom. I turned toward her. What happened? 2 weeks ago. She said it proved you knew you had been controlling. And what did you say? Claire lowered her hand. Nothing. The kitchen clock ticked behind her. No denial. No excuse. Just the shape of another moment when silence had helped Vanessa more than a lie would have. Priya closed the audio folder. There's one more item, Marcus marked urgent. She opened a document titled Family and Company. It was a draft email addressed to my parents, Vanessa's mother, both company partners, and 4 friends. The first version had been saved 6 weeks earlier, long before Vanessa sent the accusation, long before I knew about Northline, long before the meeting. The draft described me as controlling, unpredictable, and obsessed with monitoring her finances. Later revisions added phrases that sounded legal rather than emotional. Coercive control, restricted access, fear for personal safety. At the bottom, Vanessa had written a private note to herself. Send only after he asks about Bellwether. Claire gripped the back of a chair. She didn't leave because you found out, she said. I read the note again. She was waiting for me to find out. Priya exported the document into the evidence archive. As the progress bar reached 100%, a notification appeared from another synced account. One new file had been added to the phone's cloud storage. It was a photograph of Claire and me entering her apartment building less than an hour earlier. Beneath it, someone had typed, "Now we know what story they chose." The photograph reached my mother before sunrise. At 6:12, she sent it back with one question. Is this why you refused to call your wife? By 7, 3 friends had asked whether Claire and I had been seeing each other. At 8, my father ordered me to his house alone. I arrived with Marcus. Claire came separately with an attorney he had found for her. My father opened the door, saw both lawyers, and stepped aside without greeting us. Breakfast remained on the table. My mother sat beside untouched toast. Arthur, Elaine, Vanessa's mother, and Owen Price were already waiting. 7 witnesses, if anyone needed another version of what happened. Vanessa entered from the hallway carrying a white folder. She wore the navy dress she used for client presentations. Nothing about her suggested a sleepless night. I had not known she was staying at my parents' house. My mother rose halfway. Please, she said. Can everyone sit down before this becomes worse? It had already become worse. She meant before it became visible. Vanessa placed the folder beside my father's coffee. I asked Owen to come. Because Daniel's accusations affect the studio. Owen did not look at her. Marcus pulled out a chair for me. Claire remained by the doorway beside her attorney, Lena Ortiz. Vanessa noticed the distance between us. Careful, she said. People might think you rehearsed that. Helen reached for her daughter's hand. You don't have to do this if you feel unsafe. The word passed around the table without anyone challenging it. Unsafe. Vanessa had found a word that made questions sound like weapons. My father tapped the white folder. She says you froze her access to marital funds. Counsel advised a temporary hold after accounts were opened in my name. So you admit you cut her off, Helen said. Marcus answered before I could. Joint funds remain available for ordinary expenses. Disputed transfers and new credit activity were restricted. Vanessa gave him a wounded smile. He always has a technical phrase for it. She opened the folder. On top was the photograph of Claire and me entering her building. Beneath it were screenshots of messages Claire had sent Vanessa over the previous year. Daniel doesn't trust you. He checks everything. He'll never let this go if he finds out. The dates and surrounding messages had been removed. Vanessa slid them toward my mother. Claire has spent months telling me Daniel was suspicious and controlling. Now, the night I finally speak publicly, she takes him home. Claire stepped forward. Lena touched her sleeve. Not yet. If Claire explained, she might compromise the investigation. If she stayed silent, Vanessa could turn that into agreement. My mother read the screenshots twice. Claire, are these yours? They're incomplete. But did you write them? Lena spoke quietly. My client will answer after we receive the full message export. Helen pushed back from the table. A lawyer has to tell you whether you sent messages to your own sister? Claire's jaw tightened. Vanessa watched her with the patience of someone waiting for a door to close. My father turned to me. Were you involved with Claire before Vanessa left? There was nothing between us. Did you go to her apartment last night? I went there. Then help me understand what this looks like. The old response rose immediately. Reduce the damage? Reassure everyone? Apologize for the appearance even if the appearance had been manufactured. I could call it poor judgment and say Vanessa's fear was understandable. Offering myself as the problem had ended arguments before. My fingers found the watch inside my coat pocket. The metal was cold. I left it there. It looks like someone followed us and released a photograph without context. Vanessa's composure shifted by half an inch. You always do that. Do what? Make everyone else sound irrational because they respond to what you did. My father pressed his palms against the table. Daniel, Vanessa says your behavior has become financially abusive. There it was. Not controlling. Not difficult. Financially abusive. The phrase carried consequences beyond the marriage. Clients and courts did not need to know my kitchen to fear it. She has recordings, Helen said. Edited recordings, Claire replied. Every face turned toward her. Vanessa did not. She kept her attention on me. How would Claire know that unless the two of you had been going through my private files together? The trap closed. Claire could reveal the forensic review and give Vanessa a chance to challenge the evidence before it was preserved. Or she could refuse and appear complicit. Lena placed a hand over Claire's notes. We are not discussing evidence in this setting. Vanessa nodded slowly. Of course not. Evidence is only private when it helps Daniel. Arthur cleared his throat. Vanessa, did you create Bellwether Design Logistics? My father glared at him. We agreed this was a family conversation. Bellwether lists the company as guarantor. It stopped being only family. Owen moved away from the fireplace. For the first time that morning, Vanessa looked uncertain. Only briefly. Bellwether was a proposed vendor. Daniel reviewed the structure. I had never heard its name before last night. She turned toward me with tears gathering at exactly the right speed. You told me to keep early-stage projects separate from your company until they were viable. Years earlier, I had told her not to present unfinished concepts to my father. She had fitted a real sentence around a different act. My mother touched my wrist. Could you have forgotten? Not is she lying? Could you have forgotten? Vanessa had not needed everyone to believe her completely. She only needed them to distrust my memory. I hadn't. My mother withdrew her hand. Owen unfolded his arms. Vanessa asked me to price freight services for Bellwether 5 months ago. Her head snapped toward him. That was confidential. The sentence came too quickly. Arthur stopped writing. Vanessa heard the mistake and corrected course. Confidential because it was preliminary. Daniel knew we explored several structures. Then why was his signature required? Elaine asked. Ask him. My father stood. Enough. We are not conducting a trial over breakfast. He looked older than he had the day before. That did not make what followed gentler. Until this is resolved, Daniel will step away from all financial authority at Mercer Construction. You already froze my access. Now, I'm making it formal. On what basis? On the basis that our largest client has asked whether my son is abusing his wife and misusing company credit. My mother covered her mouth. Arthur stared down at his legal pad. Elaine closed her folder. Neither objected. The people who had known me for decades found uncertainty safer than standing beside me. Claire moved toward the table. Robert? The phone? Claire, my father said. You are the last person who should defend him right now. She stopped. Vanessa lowered her gaze, hiding whatever satisfaction had reached it. I wanted to empty the draft email, altered recordings, and stolen identity across my father's breakfast plates. Marcus had warned me that truth and proof were different jobs. So, I said only, my father blinked. He had expected anger or surrender. Fine. Include the reason. Use the exact allegation you relied on. Vanessa's eyes lifted. For once, I did not help anyone make the moment smaller. Marcus gathered his papers. Lena guided Claire toward the hall. Daniel, if you leave with her, everyone will understand what this really is. My hand rested on the doorknob. Claire waited outside with her attorney, several feet away. I faced Vanessa. You've spent months deciding what everyone should understand. Then I opened the door alone. Before it closed, Owen called my name. He held up his phone. You need to see what she sent the hospital board. Owen's phone showed a letter Vanessa had sent to the hospital board. It included our photograph, edited transcripts, and a claim that company funds were being used to punish her. Marcus read it in my father's driveway. Do not respond, he said. They'll assume silence means it's true. They'll assume whatever their lawyers tell them to assume. Give me 2 hours. He took Owen's number and sent me away. Claire stood beside Lena's car. I'm sorry, she said. Unlike mine, her apology did not ask anyone to stop being angry. For the letter? For giving her the pieces she's using. Lena stopped her from saying more outdoors. We left separately. An hour later, Claire sent me the address of her restoration shop. Claire was offering the part that made her look worst. The closed shop held 1 lamp and half-restored chairs. Claire unlocked the side door and immediately locked it behind me. Lena knows you're here, she said. Did they approve? They couldn't stop us. On the bench lay the watch Vanessa had given me. I touched my empty coat pocket. You dropped it under my kitchen table. Claire had cleaned the leather strap. A loose pin rested beside it. It was about to break. Maybe it should. That's not how repair works. She pressed the pin back into place. An object doesn't deserve to stay broken because the person who gave it to you lied. Is that about the watch? Mostly. She fastened the strap and left it on the bench instead of handing it to me. A kettle clicked off. She poured tea and placed the mug near my right hand. No coffee. She remembered I had refused it the night before. Tell me about the 11 days, I said. Claire sat on a stool across the bench. Vanessa came here on a Tuesday morning. She was upset and said she needed help clearing her storage unit before you found financial records you would misunderstand. And that sounded reasonable? It sounded like a lie. She had stopped paying Mom's therapy bills 2 weeks earlier, Claire continued. She said she would cover them again if I helped move 3 boxes. So she paid you. That's what it became. Claire rubbed a patch of dried glue from the bench with her thumbnail. At the unit, 1 box split. The phone fell out with envelopes carrying your name. Vanessa grabbed the mail but missed the phone under a cabinet. You took it. I told myself I was taking it to find out whether she was in trouble. Were you planning to return it? At first. That evening, she tried Vanessa's birthday. Then mine because Vanessa had called my passwords predictable. The phone opened. She found my license, Northline, and the D. Why didn't you call me? Because calling you meant admitting what I had already done. Receiving mail? More than that. She removed a shipping ledger marked with 7 months of dates. Vanessa asked me to sign for 2 deliveries when she was out of town. I used my name. Later, she told me the lender needed confirmation that you received documents here. My hand tightened around the mug. What did you tell them? That Daniel Mercer collected his business mail in person. The tea moved against the rim. You confirmed I had been here. I confirmed it. You knew I hadn't. I knew. The same answer twice, without softening. Why? Because Mom was getting better. Because Vanessa treated me like a sister again. Because I wanted one stupid lie to stay one stupid lie. She pushed the ledger toward me. And because part of me resented you. For what? You made being married to her look possible. Claire's voice stayed low. Vanessa made every childhood fight sound like my fault. Then she married you and seemed settled. I thought maybe I had always been the difficult one. She glanced at the repaired watch. When she complained about you, part of me enjoyed hearing that reliable Daniel Mercer wasn't as good as everyone thought. The work lamp hummed between us. So when she started calling me controlling, you wanted it to be true. A small part of me did. How small? Claire accepted the question, without flinching. Large enough to keep me quiet. The honesty did not make the answer noble. It made the damage harder to dismiss. I moved away from the bench and stopped beside a walnut dresser with its drawers removed. For 2 days, I had arranged Claire as Vanessa's opposite. Blunt instead of polished. Careful instead of reckless. Truthful instead of dishonest. It was another simple story. Simple stories were how I had arrived here. What happened after you opened the phone? I copied the files. I waited 11 days while she prepared the email. I didn't know when she would send it, but you knew she was preparing something. Claire inclined her head. On the 4th day, I drove to your office. Vanessa called and said, Mom had fallen. I left. Did she fall? Yes. She also went home that afternoon. Vanessa had enlarged a real emergency until Claire's courage could hide behind it. On day 8, I replayed a recording. I remembered Vanessa claiming you had apologized for frightening her. You knew the clip was incomplete. I knew there had been more. And you still said nothing when she played it for your mother. Claire's eyes reddened. I stayed silent because speaking then would expose me too. Not fear for Vanessa or loyalty to family. Self-protection. I set the mug down. The letter to the hospital uses your messages to suggest we planned this. I accept that. My father removed me from the company. I understand that too. And you had the phone before any of it happened. I do. Her voice cracked, but she did not look away. I wanted her to defend herself so I could reject the defense. Instead, she left the full weight between us. I gave Lena the ledger and authorized the full message, export. I'm not asking you to protect me from what it shows. What are you asking? I'm not asking for anything. Claire came around the bench to retrieve my untouched tea. We reached for the mug at the same time. Her fingers closed over mine. Neither of us moved. The shop smelled of cedar dust and warm metal. For one suspended second, pain offered us an easier language than trust. Claire released the mug first. No, she whispered. I stepped back. Because I'm married? Because you're hurt. Because I'm guilty. Because if we turn this into comfort tonight, Vanessa gets to be right about the only thing she had to invent. I wanted the sentence to be wrong. It was not. Claire wrapped both hands around the mug. You should go. I picked up the repaired watch but did not put it on. At the side door, I stopped. I believe you're telling the truth now. Hope reached her face. That isn't the same as trusting you. The hope disappeared. I understand. Outside, my phone connected to the network and filled with messages. One came from Marcus. The hospital board had suspended the contract review. My access to the marital accounts would be restricted by court order in the morning, and returning home could complicate the case. At the bottom, he had added, pack 1 bag tonight. After that, the house may no longer be yours to enter. Marcus met me outside the house at 10 that night. A locksmith's van was parked across the street. Tell me that isn't for my door. It is not your door tonight, he said. Both names are still on the deed, but Vanessa obtained a temporary order, limiting direct contact. You have 20 minutes to collect personal items while I remain present. The porch light came on before we reached the steps. Helen opened the door. Vanessa is upstairs. She was supposed to leave during collection, Marcus said. She's afraid to be alone. The locksmith examined his clipboard with sudden concentration. I stayed on the porch. Then I'll come back when she's gone. Helen folded her arms. Running away again? Marcus answered for me. We will document that access was obstructed. The Word document changed her posture. She moved aside. Our wedding photograph still hung in the entryway. Vanessa had removed the smaller frame containing my parents, but the brass bowl beneath it held both sets of keys exactly where we had always left them. Mine were gone. Marcus started a timer. Clothes, medication, identification, work materials. I climbed the stairs without touching the railing. The bedroom door stood open. Vanessa sat on the edge of the bed beside an overnight bag, as if I were the person arriving uninvited. You brought a lawyer into our house. I was told you wouldn't be here. It's still my home. I understand that. She searched my face, waiting for the rest for reassurance, concession, or an apology that could reopen the familiar path. I walked to the closet and took down a duffel bag. Claire has always wanted to punish me, she said. I folded 3 shirts and placed them inside. She admitted what she did. Of course she did. A controlled confession makes her look honest. You mean the way a controlled recording makes me look guilty? Vanessa's fingers tightened around the bedspread. You have no idea what it took to keep my business alive. Then tell the lawyers. I'm talking to my husband. My husband. She said it as if the role required me to protect her from the consequences of what she had done inside the marriage. I collected my passport from the desk drawer. The folder containing our mortgage papers was missing. Where are the house documents? Her expression changed. Listen to yourself. You walk in here with counsel, start searching through drawers, and still think I invented your need for control. Marcus called from the hallway. 5 minutes. Vanessa lowered her voice. Claire will get tired of you too. I stopped packing. There were answers designed to wound her. I knew where she was weakest. The failing studio, the debts, her fear that everyone loved the version she performed rather than the person underneath. Using any of them would make the moment feel balanced. It would also make me more like the man she needed everyone to see. I zipped the bag. This isn't about Claire. Vanessa gave a thin smile. You went straight to her. I went where the evidence was. And now I'm leaving because of what you did. Not because someone else is waiting. The smile disappeared. Nothing happened between us. I continued. If anything ever does, it will not begin while I'm married, while she owes me truth, or while I'm using her to survive you. Vanessa stood. You've already chosen her. No. I finally chose not to abandon myself. Marcus appeared at the door. I lifted the bag and walked past him. Downstairs, the locksmith rekeyed the front door while I signed a list of everything I had removed. My passport, 4 days of clothes, medication, a laptop that no longer connected to company systems, and the repaired watch. 8 years of marriage fit into one duffel bag because everything else had become disputed. Outside, Marcus handed me a court notice. The temporary order restricted withdrawals from our joint accounts to $500 per week. Vanessa's attorney had claimed I might drain the funds in retaliation. She transferred $40,000, I said. We will address that at the hearing. How soon? 9 days. The mortgage is due in 4. Do not pay it from a new account without documenting the source. Even doing the responsible thing had become legally suspicious. My phone rang. The hospital project director's name appeared on the screen. Marcus nodded for me to answer. Daniel, the board is pausing final approval, she said. The financial documents are being reviewed independently. I know. This isn't a conclusion. It sounded exactly like one. The project represented almost a third of our expected revenue for the year. Losing it would hurt people who had never met Vanessa. Are you terminating the contract? They haven't. Not yet followed me after the call ended. Not yet homeless. Not yet divorced. Not yet cleared. Marcus offered to arrange a hotel, but my company cards had been disabled and every personal charge might be examined. My father's guest room was not an option. Claire's apartment was the most obvious place I could not go. I drove a rental car to Mercer Construction's equipment yard. Behind the main warehouse stood a narrow room used by overnight supervisors during concrete pours. It held a cot, a metal locker, a shower, and a window-facing stacked drainage pipe. Arthur had left the key beneath a traffic cone. He had also left a paper bag containing a sandwich, bottled water, and a note. I don't know what to believe yet. I know you need somewhere to sleep. The kindness came with a condition, even if he had not intended one. Yet, I placed the note inside the locker. At midnight, someone knocked. Claire stood outside holding the shipping ledger and a sealed envelope. Lena needs your signature, confirming when you first saw this. She noticed the cot behind me. You're staying here? Temporarily. There's a spare room above the shop. I can't. The answer came hard enough to make her step back. I lowered my voice. I'm not leaving my marriage for you. I'm leaving because I finally know what happened inside it. Claire held the envelope against her coat. Then don't come to me until you know the difference. I do know. Tonight you know what you need the difference to be. She was right, and I disliked her for being right before I could be grateful. I signed the acknowledgement on the hood of her car. Claire checked the date, sealed the paper, and returned the pen to her pocket. Did you get your things? Some of them. Her gaze moved to the repaired watch on my wrist. I had put it on without deciding to. It works, she said. That doesn't mean I'm keeping it. I remember. She left without offering the spare room again. Inside, I removed the watch and set it in the metal locker. Then I unfolded my clothes onto the empty shelf. My company email no longer recognized my password. The personal banking app showed a weekly spending limit. The hospital contract remained marked paused. At 12:43, My father sent the formal suspension letter. The stated reason was not fraud, negligence, or misuse of funds. It read, pending investigation into allegations of financial abuse and conflicts affecting company reputation. He had used the exact words I requested. Seeing them in writing cost more than hearing them at the table. At 6 the next morning, someone hammered on the warehouse door. I woke on the cot wearing yesterday's clothes. Ben Keller stood outside with his phone in one hand and anger arranged across his face. Ben had been my best man and had helped Vanessa launch her studio online. Tell me you didn't sleep here to make her look cruel. I stepped into the cold yard and closed the door behind me. How did you find me? Your father. That answer hurt before Ben said anything else. He showed me a post Vanessa had published 40 minutes earlier. It included a photograph of my cot, taken through the warehouse window. My husband has moved onto company property after restricting my access to our home and finances. I am asking him to stop using employees and business resources in our private dispute. She changed the alarm code, I said. She says the temporary order was necessary because you threatened to take the house. Did she show you the threat? Ben lowered the phone. I've heard the recordings. The edited ones. You apologize in them, Daniel. There was no answer that could fit inside his certainty. Ben had stood at my wedding and called when his own marriage nearly ended. Now, he searched my face for someone else. What do you want from me? Leave her alone. Stop dragging Claire into it. Take responsibility before this destroys everyone around you. He drove away without entering the room where I had slept. At 7:15, Arthur called. The hospital board had suspended the project indefinitely. 42 field positions scheduled for the following month would not begin. 2 subcontractors were demanding written assurance that Mercer Construction remained solvent. Your father wants you off the property, Arthur said. I glanced at the cot through the open door. Did he say where I should go? He didn't. And you? Arthur took too long. I left the key. Because you needed one night. I can't risk being accused of hiding company resources from the board. The kindness had expired on schedule. I packed the duffel bag and returned the key beneath the traffic cone. Marcus called before I reached the rental car. Do not drive anywhere until we talk. I'm being removed from the yard. Then sit in the car. His voice had lost its usual dryness. Vanessa's attorneys had filed an emergency motion claiming I had used Claire to obtain private data and damage Vanessa's business. Attached to it was a message from Claire, sent 9 months earlier. Daniel will never fight back. He would rather apologize than let anyone think he is like his father. The complete conversation mattered. Vanessa had been asking whether she should tell me about a tax penalty. Claire's next message said, that doesn't make lying to him acceptable. The filing omitted the second line. It did not omit the first. Can the full export fix it? I asked. It can provide context. It cannot make Claire's assessment of you disappear. The sentence remained on my screen. She had understood my weakness long before she decided to help me. Worse, she had described it to the person using it. There's more, Marcus said. Bank records showed that Vanessa had paid her attorney's initial retainer and a crisis communications consultant from our joint savings. $31,000 had left the account the morning before she sent the public email. My weekly limit remained $500. Can we freeze the rest? We requested it. Her counsel argues the payments are necessary safety expenses. She's using my money to tell people I control hers. That is what the records show. Marcus rarely gave an answer without qualification. The simplicity of that one made the trap feel complete. My phone filled with calls while we spoke. 2 reporters. A subcontractor. My mother. Claire. I answered none of them. Instead, I opened Vanessa's message thread. Her last message blamed me for what followed. My thumbs began moving. I'm sorry this has hurt so many people. I never intended to restrict you or damage your business. I will cooperate fully and... The sentence offered immediate relief. Ben could call it accountability. My father could show the board. Vanessa might stop posting. 42 people might get their start dates. All I had to do was accept the shape she had made for me. The repaired watch lay beside the gear shift, its second hand moving smoothly. I read my draft again. Nothing was technically false. I was sorry and willing to cooperate. That was how the best distortions worked. Every sentence could be true while the story they formed was not. I deleted the message. Then, I sent Marcus a screenshot of the empty text field. Almost did it again. His response arrived a minute later. But you didn't. Claire called once more. This time, I answered. I saw the filing, she said. Did you write that I would never fight back? I wrote it. What made you write it? Because she was deciding whether to tell you about a tax penalty. I was trying to tell her you would make it easy to be honest. That isn't what you wrote. No, what I wrote was crueler. Cars moved along the road beyond the equipment yard. Employees began arriving for shifts. I was no longer allowed to supervise. You gave her a map? I said. I gave her one. You told her exactly why I would stay quiet. I didn't understand she was collecting ways to use it. You understood enough to hide the phone. Claire offered no defense. It felt like responsibility, but I was too angry to find comfort in the distinction. Lena says I should make a public statement, she said. I can admit the full context and explain that I helped Vanessa. Don't do that. Daniel, if you defend me publicly today, it becomes proof we are coordinating. If you minimize your part, you become another person polishing a story. If you confess everything, they'll say I pressured you. Then what do? Tell the complete truth under oath. Until then, stop trying to rescue me from what you helped create. The words landed harder than I intended. All right, she ended the call first. At 10, Owen requested a meeting with Marcus and me in the parking lot of a closed diner. He arrived carrying a printed bank statement. Vanessa used Bellwether to pay me for freight consulting, he said. I thought it was her company. 3 payments had entered Owen's business account, then returned to an account controlled by Vanessa under the label refund. Why return the money? Marcus asked. She said an investor withdrew. Did you know Daniel was listed as the owner? Owen's face answered before he did. Not until yesterday. His phone vibrated on the roof of his car. A message from Vanessa appeared. If Daniel contacts you, remember we agreed he approved the original structure. Owen read it twice. We never agreed to that. Another message arrived before he could respond. And delete the invoice draft. It has the wrong date. Marcus photographed both messages. Vanessa called immediately. Owen let it ring. The third message contained only 3 words. Why aren't you answering? Her control was beginning to require speed, and speed was making her careless. Before noon, her attorney sent formal invitations to a meeting with both families, company counsel, and the hospital board's outside reviewer. Vanessa intended to present a complete timeline and request that Mercer Construction permanently remove me from financial authority. The meeting was scheduled for Friday. At the bottom of the email, her attorney wrote, Mrs. Mercer believes her husband's continued silence confirms that he has no credible response. Marcus folded the printed statement. She expects you to stay quiet. I put the repaired watch back on. She built everything around it. Friday's meeting took place in the same conference room where Claire had dropped the dark blue phone. The wall screen was off this time. Vanessa sat across from me beside her attorney. My parents occupied one end of the table. Arthur and Elaine sat at the other with company counsel. The hospital board had sent an outside reviewer named Dr. Miriam Cole. Claire was not there. Lena had arranged for her sworn statement and complete message export to be delivered separately. Vanessa objected to her absence before anyone finished introductions. Convenient, she said. The person who stole my phone won't answer questions. Marcus placed one folder in front of me. Miss Bennett is not a party to this employment review. Vanessa glanced toward the empty chair near the door. She had expected Claire to sit there and defend me. Part of me had expected it too. Dr. Cole began with the allegations affecting the hospital project. Financial abuse, misuse of company credit, retaliation against a spouse, and an undisclosed relationship creating a conflict of interest. Mr. Mercer, she said, your counsel may respond. Marcus did not open his folder. I opened mine. I'll respond. My father shifted in his chair. Vanessa's attorney smiled as if I had just ignored good advice. I started with the part Vanessa expected me to hide. I signed financial documents without reading them carefully during my marriage. I shared passwords. I ignored notices because questioning my wife felt more dangerous than accepting her explanations. When problems appeared, I apologized until the original question disappeared. Vanessa leaned back. He admits he controlled the conversations. No, I said. I admit I abandoned them. Dr. Cole raised a hand before Vanessa's attorney could interrupt. I continued. My silence was not wisdom. It left my company exposed. It also made it easier for incomplete recordings to sound like confessions. I am responsible for every document I signed and every warning I chose not to examine. My father's face tightened. He had wanted innocence clean enough to restore the contract. I could not give him that, But responsibility is not the same as authorship. Marcus passed Dr. Cole a verified timeline. It did not begin with the phone. It began 8 months earlier with the creation of an email account using my name. Then came the bellwether registration, the copied identification, the electronic signatures, the Northline application. Each event included an independent source: server records, bank logs, travel records, or third-party correspondence. Vanessa's attorney challenged the metadata. Marcus pointed to the lender's verification calls and Owen's invoices. Vanessa folded her hands. Daniel had access to all of that. He works in finance. He could build whatever timeline he wanted. I didn't build it, I said. Paid by your company. Arthur spoke before my father could stop him. Paid from our insurer's investigative fund. Vanessa's eyes moved to him. After Daniel pressured you. Arthur removed his glasses. Daniel hasn't spoken to me since I made him leave the equipment yard. Arthur was not my ally. That was why it mattered. Dr. Cole turned to Vanessa. Did you create Bellwether? I explored it as a possible vendor with my husband's knowledge. Why was he listed as managing member for financing eligibility? Her attorney touched her wrist. Vanessa kept speaking. Daniel knew his name carried more value. He offered it when my studio was struggling. Show them where I offered, I said. You don't document every conversation in a marriage. You documented 26 of mine. Her expression hardened. Marcus provided the audio analysis. The files had been trimmed around my apologies. 2 originals had been recovered, including my missing questions about unauthorized transfers. Helen whispered, Vanessa? Her daughter did not turn. He frightened me, Vanessa said. Maybe I edited them because no one listens until you make pain understandable. It was her first honest explanation. It did not make the edits truthful. Dr. Cole asked about the public statement drafted 6 weeks before I discovered Bellwether. Vanessa's composure returned. Women prepare safety plans before they leave. Did your plan include opening credit in his name? Elaine asked. My business decisions and my safety are separate issues. You joined them when you called his questions abuse, Elaine replied. Vanessa's attorney requested a break. Dr. Cole refused. Marcus slid Owen's bank statement and the newly preserved messages across the table. Vanessa read the first page. Her gaze stopped at the request to delete the invoice draft. Owen misunderstood me. He hasn't testified yet, Marcus said. The conference room door opened. Owen entered with his attorney and took the empty chair near the wall. Vanessa's smile arrived late. You told me you weren't coming. Owen placed his phone face up on the table. I told you I hadn't decided. Dr. Cole asked whether I had approved Bellwether. Owen answered carefully. Vanessa told me Daniel had. I never discussed it with him. Yesterday, she asked me to say we had all agreed and to delete an invoice with the wrong date, because the invoice was inaccurate, Vanessa said. The date showed Bellwether operating before Daniel supposedly approved it. Her attorney whispered something. Vanessa pushed his hand away. Everyone in this room has already chosen him. My mother flinched. I haven't, my father said. The answer was cruel, but useful. Claire was absent. Arthur had expelled me from the yard. My father still doubted me. The evidence had to stand without affection. Vanessa looked at Dr. Cole. Daniel and Claire stole private material, built a selective timeline, and brought in people who resent me. Whatever is on that phone can be altered. Which phone? I asked. She stared at me. The device Claire took. We haven't introduced a device into this review. Her attorney went still. Vanessa recovered. You discussed it at your parents' house. We discussed edited recordings. Not what held them. Marcus removed a sealed evidence photograph from the folder, but kept it face down. The forensic image was made after Claire took the device from storage, Vanessa said. Anything, she added before imaging, proves nothing. No one moved. Marcus had never mentioned when the image was created. Neither had I. Dr. Cole leaned forward. How did you know there was a forensic image? Vanessa looked toward Owen. Then her mother. Then the sealed photograph. Because there would have to be a backup. The word landed cleanly. Backup. Not phone. Not files. The same word she had used in a deleted message recovered from the cloud. Move the backup before Daniel checks the company account. Marcus turned over the photograph. It showed the dark blue phone inside its evidence sleeve. Vanessa stood so quickly her chair struck the wall. Who gave you the backup? Her attorney caught her arm. Too late. She had asked who gave it to us before anyone claimed it belonged to her. The polished sadness vanished. Claire had no right, she said. Helen began crying. Vanessa pointed toward me. And he would have destroyed the studio if I told him. He would have made me beg for every dollar. I could have answered with the transfers, the forged signatures, or the money used to finance the campaign against me. Instead, I spoke to the only part that was mine. I made the mistake when I thought being easy to hurt made me good to love. Vanessa's hand lowered. You used my silence because you knew I was trained to disappear inside an apology. I won't do that now. The table remained quiet. I am not asking anyone to punish Vanessa for leaving me. I am asking that the financial records be corrected, the false guarantees be removed, and each of us answer for what we actually did. I turned to my father. If my failure to review documents disqualifies me from financial authority, put that in writing too. But do not call fraud a marital misunderstanding because the truth embarrasses the company. Then I faced Dr. Cole. I have finished my response. Marcus closed the folder. Vanessa kept standing, one hand on the chair she had knocked aside. For months, she had controlled every room by deciding which version of me entered first. This time, I had arrived before the story. The dark blue phone spent the next 7 months inside a numbered evidence bag. I saw it twice. The first time was at the hearing where Northline released Mercer Construction and me from the fraudulent guarantee. The second was when Vanessa admitted authorizing the bellwether filings as part of a settlement that kept the case from going to trial. It still had the cracked corner from the conference room floor. Nothing about it looked powerful enough to divide two families, delay a hospital project, or make me question every apology I had offered during 8 years of marriage. By then, I no longer needed to open it to believe what had happened. That mattered more than the settlement. Vanessa accepted responsibility for the fraudulent applications and returned part of the money taken from our joint accounts. The studio closed before the year ended. Her attorney described the remaining violations as decisions made under financial pressure. The settlement records later showed that Vanessa's crisis consultant had hired the investigator who photographed Claire and me at her apartment and later photographed my cot through the warehouse window. Pressure explained some things. It did not erase them. Our divorce became final without a courtroom confession or a last-minute request to begin again. Vanessa signed the papers in another room. I signed mine with Marcus beside me and the repaired watch in my coat pocket. I still could not wear it for long. Mercer Construction restored my title, but not all my authority. Every transaction above $10,000 required a second approval. My father called it governance. I called it fair. The hospital board restarted the project at a smaller scale. 26 of the 42 delayed positions returned. The other 16 became numbers people avoided mentioning when they congratulated me. Arthur apologized for making me leave the equipment yard. My mother apologized for asking whether I had forgotten. My father never apologized. One morning, he placed a new access card on my desk and said, "You should have checked the documents." I should have. He waited for me to say more. I did not. The silence between us was no longer surrender. It was simply where his part of the conversation ended. Claire testified under oath about the mail, the deliveries, and the 11 days she kept the phone. Her statement made no attempt to sound brave. It cost her the remaining relationship with Helen, who believed exposing Vanessa had caused the greater harm. For 4 months, Claire and I spoke only through our lawyers. Then, after the divorce was final and every statement had been signed, a small package arrived at my apartment. Inside was the watch. The leather strap had been replaced. The original one lay beneath it in a paper sleeve. A note rested at the bottom. Repair is not the same as pretending nothing broke. There was no invitation, no request for forgiveness. I waited 3 days before calling her, not because I wanted to punish her, because I needed to know the call belonged to the life after Vanessa, not the wreckage she had left. Claire answered on the 4th ring. "Hello? The watch arrived. Does it work?" It always worked. Then I fixed the wrong part. I laughed before I could decide whether I was ready. We met the following Friday at a diner where neither of us knew the staff. No family history lived in the booths. No one at the next table knew what Claire had hidden or what I had allowed. She ordered tea. I ordered coffee. "You changed your mind," she said. "About coffee?" Good clarification. The conversation stayed ordinary for almost 20 minutes. Her restoration shop had won a contract with a small theater. I had moved from the warehouse room into an apartment with windows facing a public park. She had learned to repair old drawer slides without swearing at them. "I don't believe that," I said. "You shouldn't." The ease frightened me more than the difficult parts. When people laughed at a nearby table, my shoulders tightened before I understood why. For months, laughter in a crowded room had meant someone else was accepting a version of me I could not hear, Claire noticed. No question about whether I was all right. No reassurance that the laughter belonged to someone else. She waited until my hand loosened around the coffee cup, then continued the story about the theater seats. That was the kindest thing she did all evening. When the check arrived, she reached for it. No debts between us, she said. Split it. Accepted. Outside, rain had begun falling lightly. We stood beneath the diner awning without touching. I'm still angry with you sometimes, I said. I know. That isn't disappearing because I wanted to see you. It shouldn't. And I don't know what this becomes. Claire pushed her hands into her coat pockets. Then we don't name it tonight. Her phone vibrated. The sound moved through me before reason could catch it. My eyes went to her pocket. Claire's hand stopped. For a moment, I was back at the conference table watching my name appear on a device I had never seen. I could feel the cracked case beneath my thumb and hear Vanessa asking who had given us the backup. Claire took out her phone. She offered neither proof nor concealment. She silenced the call and placed the phone face down on the ledge between us. The choice remained mine. I could ask who had called. I could pretend I did not care. I could leave before uncertainty became attachment. Instead, I stood beside her and listened to the rain strike the metal awning. After a while, Claire moved her hand onto the ledge, leaving several inches between her fingers and mine. I crossed half the distance. She crossed the rest. The old phone remained sealed in evidence storage. The repaired watch stayed in my desk more often than on my wrist. My father still avoided certain truths, and some friends never returned. Nothing had been restored to its original condition. That was not what healing meant anymore. Claire did not promise that no one would ever lie to me again. She simply left enough room for me to believe myself when they did. Some people do not destroy you by shouting. They do it by writing a version of you that everyone else can believe. And sometimes, the person who helps you survive is not the person who fixes your life. It is the person who finally says, no, that is not what happened. If this story stayed with you, tell me in the comments, have you ever had to fight for the truth of your own life? And if you want more stories like this, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.